I'm Professor Elise Fitzannes, and I'm the scholar in the law of health at the Institut Roman pour Santé du Travail, also known as the Institute for Work and Health, at the University of Lausanne. I was under the impression you wanted to know what we think of some of the ideas that are being thrown around for the new conference. There were ideas about watchdog agencies for Interpol. There were ideas for ecocide becoming a crime. There were ideas for something relating to UN reform that would make it much more accessible to individuals by having a form of a parliamentary assembly. And these are all great ideas. These are exciting stuff. And when I first met Hans Thulin quite a while ago at the Institut René Cassin pour les droits de l'homme in Strasbourg, France, none of these ideas would even have been talked about out loud. The infrastructure that exists today did not exist. Things like Human Rights Day, they didn't even know there was a declaration in most countries. And it would have been a really, really further than a twinkle in the eye. It would have been a nanoparticle in the eye to talk about such ideas. So that's very exciting. And I would say, first of all, keep talking. That's what people are supposed to do. That's how you have democratic values. Use the social media to connect to each other and to really try and do something with those ideas. For me personally, I find them a little redundant, I'm sorry to say. We have so many procedures. We have so much law. Everybody's writing, nobody's reading. Nobody even has read the statutes that say there's a red light and you've got to stop at a red light. We know to stop at the red light. We know there's risks and benefits around that red light. If we don't stop, we take a certain risk in the hope of a certain benefit, but we don't read those laws. I personally have never read those statutes. And I think that the real reason that we have these marvelous, interesting proposals is because we have a sense that the system isn't working. And that's because in any communication, there's two parts to a message. There's the part that sends the message and the part that receives it. People are writing and not reading. People are writing laws and putting jurisdiction and apparatus over problems, which is good. That's what law's supposed to do. It's supposed to harness chaos and make the role of the law is to promote the rule of law. But people aren't participating. They're not getting back into that system. They're not having their say. And what I think is lacking in this discourse, aside from an active, informed electorate who would vote, for example, for the UN Parliamentary Assembly, is something much more. It's really a fundamental grasp of the importance of how this system works. It's extremely important, not just that people are educated about the system, but that they participate. Why? Because whether you're talking about democracy or totalitarianism or monarchy, government is not a spectator sport. It's not like you go to the stadium and you applaud the rock star or the football player. You've got to get in there and read stuff and be active. What I would propose is something somewhat different. I would propose that we start integrating the human rights database that we have, a wonderful, wonderful array of interesting laws on vital topics, and a beautiful infrastructure that did not exist before. We have to integrate it into people's daily life. In my own work, what that means is I have been studying nanotechnology, and I've been studying what nanotechnology promises for society and for the future, and I've been scratching my head and saying, is this so-called revolution in nanotechnology, which is what scientists call it, they call it a revolution, is this revolution just because we know now different ways of looking at the properties of chemicals and gold and silver, and therefore will create new products and new industries and new commerce? Or is this revolutionary so sweeping that we can change all of society, that we can use this as the excuse and the vehicle to bring about positive social change favoring human rights? So my doctoral research has been about nanotechnology as the vehicle for operationalizing the right to health, the human right to health. And I've talked about why health is a human right and where it's accepted, and how precautionary principles in science are a very fundamental part of that codification of the human right. And then I said, okay, what are we going to do with that? If nanotechnology is really a revolution, then things will be different after nanotechnology. What does that mean for human rights? What does that mean for women's health when we talk about nanomedicines that are going to cross the placenta either deliberately because we're doing some kind of fetal therapy, or accidentally because they're an exposure that's so small we can't control it when we look at something else in the woman's body? These are real questions. And I say, well, nanotechnology, that's a great excuse for revisiting everything we've already done in human rights. I believe that there are other areas of science like that, and I believe it's not a tangent. I believe that's how we operationalize the human right to health. And let us remember that without health, society cannot survive. So I think the next step, we can all have visions of beautiful structures for infrastructure. That's very nice to have. We need people thinking like that. But what we really need to do is to make sure that people participate in the system, that they give back the information that's being given to them, that the signals really are two ways. That's very hard work. There's so many competing interests. There's so many disincentives, ranging from the extremes of repression of human rights defenders right down to the fact that it's just more interesting to watch something else on TV and have a nice lunch. All the way along that continuum, there's no real clear incentive for somebody to get involved. We, the human rights community, must accept the burden of making sure that we don't have couch potatoes who are pretending human rights is a spectator sport. And I propose that the vehicle to do that is nanotechnology. Why? Because it's out there anyway. Because we're all part of exposures to it, because it's reshaping and reinventing our lives, and it's a great excuse for rethinking human rights and the right to health.